say we're live, are we live
Yeah.
here or live on air?
On air.
Oh, wow, that's unusual. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wareham Finance Committee. Today is Wednesday, September 28th. It's 6:30 PM. May I ask clerk, call the roll, please?
We have Tom Hannon, Julie Moran, Jody Smith, Tom Worthen, Jerry Stefanski, myself, Norma Scoggin, and Bernie Pigeon Chair.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum, obviously. Dominic will probably be late when we'll have a full meeting. Everyone, of course, has been listening to the news, at least I know I have, so I'm sure everyone else is tuning in from time. The hurricane going through Florida. We have property down there, so we're very concerned. And it is Fort Myers Beach is where it is, and if it hits land right there first.
How about the gas bubbling up in the Baltic?
That's a problem too, I think.
Bet.
But we have
What's
no
your energy
reports of
bills?
condition of anything down there really, because no one's going outside when you hear the wind coming up over 100 miles an hour and the like. Even the TV people stay in. But we'll know day after tomorrow probably how bad it is. Okay, the first item on our agenda, we're hearing some of the town meeting articles. And item A is the possible discussion for Articles 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. They're all zoning bylaws. And welcome our Ken Buckland, our Director of Planning. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Al. How you
Two
doing?
nights in a row, you got this very same thing. We heard you last night.
Well, then it's gonna be easy tonight then, I guess.
I'm sure they weren't as interested as we're going to be.
I'm sure you were more interested than them.
Oh, indeed, we are. On the edge of our seat, please. So we'll start with Article 21. Changing Article 13, Section 1381. These are all of them changing existing bylaws and not proposing anything new.
That's right. There is one that is a new bylaw, but most of them are just changing existing bylaws.
Okay, you have the floor.
This Article 21 is a change in Section 1381. It changes two words in the document, in the section. It changes something that says setback requirements to zoning requirements. This is for non-conforming lots, existing lots that are undersized, that don't fit current zoning. And there's a whole section, Article 13, which is on non-conforming uses and non-conforming lots and all the protections that are provided to them. And this is just one section in there. The Zoning Board of Appeals had asked for this change because they found that the setback requirements weren't enough, that they wanted the other zoning requirements to also apply, things like coverage, FAR, whatever else that the zoning has that should apply to the non-conforming lot. This particular one is when you have multiple lots in common ownership, and to protect the owner of those lots, they have to have a certain area and certain frontage required to proceed. But if they do and they meet the other requirements of the section, then they can build on those lots. So that's the importance of this wording.
Are you trying to affect some kind of uniformity within the bylaws then?
No, not necessarily. This is just to, in the case where they have a special permit before them when they're reviewing a non-conforming lot, that they can incorporate the review of other, consideration of other sections of the zoning bylaws, and not just the setback requirements.
I see.
So just as you're saying in the preamble, to broaden the requirements is basically what you're looking at, FAR,
Right.
sideline setback, okay. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
coverage, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure this is the right article, but last night I know you're going over one word, and you're gonna get a legal opinion on it. Was that this article? In front of the selectmen last night, I heard that go on. I had to turn it off finally.
That's the planning board, in their review of this. They, our consulting engineer, Charlie Rowley, had,
Did that get resolved?
no, it hasn't been resolved yet. I parsed it out, and I think it's right the way it is right now, but we'll have to go back to the planning board and have them make their determination as well, too.
Is this the same issue that the ZBA and planning board couldn't kind of get on the same page?
No, they're on the
Is
same,
there others down the road?
they're on the same page in this case.
Okay. Well, I knew there was something that they should have a joint meeting and nobody wanted to, and, you know, unfortunately, I don't have a life, so I listen to a lot of these things.
I guess I don't have a life either.
So they're all in accord around this change?
Yes, they are.
Okay, okay.
Any other questions? Being none, thank you, Ken. We'll move on to the next one.
Article 22 is this is a new section, a new MS4 regulations. This is the EPA's stormwater pollution prevention program that we have to follow. There's a multi-year actions that we have to take. This is one of them where we have to have regulations for pre and post-construction for site management. That's to control the runoff from the sites, sediment erosion controls. So it takes it out of the just the hands of the Conservation Commission and puts it into the requirements for every project that comes before the Board of Appeals or the Planning Board as well. That they have to have sediment erosion controls and stormwater management. And then after the construction, they have to monitor it to make sure it's working as well. The drainage system is working as proposed.
Good, good.
Who is it that has to monitor it? Is it the developer?
The developer has to monitor it and report to the town.
And this is state law requirement.
This is actually federal. It's a state law that comes from the federal Clean Water Act.
Any other questions? Being none, Article 23, Ken?
Article 23 is the moratorium on the marijuana social consumption establishments. Town meeting had previously affirmed a moratorium on marijuana social consumption establishments, which are locations where people can join together, congregate socially, and partake of marijuana. The moratorium was because there aren't any regulations at the state level for these yet. And there's still discussion as to how and in what ways these can occur. And so without that, it's not something that we feel the town should be taking on to determine on our own what should be done about this. So a one-year moratorium is something that the Attorney General allows, and we're reapplying that in this case to the social consumption marijuana establishments.
I think, Ken, we had a year where there was no moratorium, because we had the first one was in 2019, 1 year, and then there's a gap year, and so now we're reinstituting that moratorium because they're still talking up there.
That's right, still going at it.
And Ken, is it also, the recent Chapter 180 Acts of 2022, the equity bill that Governor Baker signed? Does that have anything to do with this, or is this really the whole cafe concept that we're looking at?
It's just the cafe concept. The social equity provides benefits to those who are affected by it, that they get the first shot at some of the licenses and opportunities,
Right,
but it doesn't affect the town and what licenses that we issue.
okay. Although the host community agreements will be an interesting exercise down the road,
They will be,
to talk about it at a later time.
that's right.
Good.
Any other questions? Being none, thank you. Ken, we'll go on to number 24.
24, this is a request by, the previous one was a request by Selectman Slavin. This one is also his request. It's for signs in the windows of commercial businesses that signs cannot exceed more than 25% of the total glass area of the wall of the business facing each street or parking lot in which they are displayed. There's a new urbanist benefit that's accrued by this, and it shows activity in the stores and makes the street more lively. Selectman Slavin was concerned about nefarious goings-on inside the stores and being able to see it, the wrongdoing at the time inside the stores. And that is also a benefit that this accrues to.
Well, he even told the story of when he and Sandy were pumping gas and the convenience store attached was being robbed.
That's right.
Missed out on all the excitement.
Transparency is what we're looking for here.
Yeah, right.
Is this how it's written? Because, not that, I don't know if we have any say in that, but but you're saying signs, but really what you wanna do is stop coverage, not just signage. So like, I used to sell signs for a living, so this is saying just signs, but you know, it should be written so it's window coverage.
It should be, because you can paint over the window as well too,
Yeah.
not necessarily a sign.
Right, so they can put up like a film, that's not a sign.
Right.
But it's window coverage. So most towns have something like this, it's not uncommon, but it should be written up for coverage, not just signs.
Good point. We're going to a public hearing on Monday on this, so we can adjust the bylaw at that
Good
point.
idea.
You can amend it on the floor even if you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Does.
Or a separate section if it's if this only relates to signs, do we define signs in some way?
Right.
Maybe the easier way to do
You
it.
can put a gondola right up against the whole window.
no, that
But
was,
how it's written here in the warrant, you can actually, as we read the motion, they can include the correct wordage, even though it doesn't change the intent. It just describes it differently. In
That's
my-
right.
Yeah,
This was in the sign bylaw section, so.
Yeah.
that's the
and we
reason
do
why-
that all the time.
That's the reason why I reference signs.
Yes.
Right.
yeah, so I mean, he brought up a good point. What about the businesses that are in town that have coverings, like the pot shops, for example? You can't see in from the street, even though they have the large window space up front. They have them all covered
Right,
with the
and
films, which is what he
they'd have
brings
to
up.
they'd have to be allowed to do that, because that's the state license that requires them to
Okay, that's
be.
the state license requirement. All right, so
Yeah,
it wouldn't
it's
be,
required.
okay.
You can't have anything, any way to look in, it has to be, you have to have like the dusty crystal on it or something to cover that.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Makes good sense to me.
How do you know they're covered?
I have to drop people off all
You
the
heard
time.
from someone.
Any other questions? There being none, the last one, I believe, is 25. Ken.
Last one, yes, Article 25. This is the changes in Article 6, which are the density and dimensional regulations. These are the sizes and shapes and the framework in which zoning allows development to occur in a lot. There needed to be some corrections to that to clarify and to make it consistent across the tables on the dimensional standards that apply to the development. So this was more of an exercise of corrections rather than trying to change content. There is no change in the dimensional standards at all. Those remain the same. So this is just to change things that have been lost in the past, that have continued on and needed to be clarified so people would have a consistent view of the regulations.
And we'll be printing the changes in their entirety in our reports, so they don't have to go to the town clerk's offices, they don't have to.
That's good. These are also published on the planning board website as well, too.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you very much. I'm off to
Thank
the
you very much,
ZBA
Ken.
now.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.
And the next item on the agenda is the article submitted on Article 26, 27 for the school department. And we have the chairman, Kevin Bajoli,
Superintendent.
superintendent, Dr. Matthew DeAndre, and business manager, Kristen Flynn. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice seeing you again.
Nice to see you.
You were probably dreading all those zoning things when you first came in.
Yes, I was.
I would have been.
Well, I didn't tell anybody it was gonna be easy, so it,
Oh, I heard them all.
yeah.
Very
we-
controversial.
There was nothing controversial there.
It was interesting though, excuse me, that the selectmen have asked very few questions. We have a much better dialogue with people. Well, thank you again. Article 26, boiler replacement.
Okay, yes, so, just to give you a little history, back in January of '22, the school committee voted to participate in the MSBA Accelerated Repair Program, for the high school boilers and for the middle school roof project. And the, both of them need significant repair. The boilers at the high school are the original boilers from 1991. There are 6 of them. I believe 3 of them are no longer working. And the other ones are old and tired and need to be replaced. The first step was to conduct a feasibility study. The school committee voted to allocate $95,000 for the roof feasibility study and $75,000 for the boiler feasibility study. The select board also voted to enter into the program back in January of '22. Both of the feasibility studies were completed earlier this month. MSBA also informed us that we were eligible for 71.58% reimbursement in the program.
Good.
So the high school boilers, this includes new water heaters. It would be 5 new boilers, new water heaters, mixing valves, expansion tanks, and pumps. It'll be 5 new boilers to replace the 6 existing ones. And all the equipment in the boiler room, or at least most of the equipment, will be replaced. The feasibility study estimates that the cost will be $2,462,614.
Say it again, please.
$2,462,614. With the 71.58% reimbursement, that means we would be reimbursed $1,762,739.10. And the town would be on the hook for $699,874.90 plus $73,331 in contingency. So the town's looking at $773,206 for the project. We're looking to do the work in the summer. So as soon as this hopefully would be approved, we would go ahead and begin the procurement process to get the project done.
The boilers aren't very old. We had Degas, and that was, at least 20 more years on that.
Is that right?
Would it be more effective just to replace the entire boiler room, because you're only keeping 1 out of the whole series?
Replace the,
Instead of, you're replacing 5 out of 6.
right, we're replacing, right, all 6 of them are going.
We don't need 6
We don't
But
need
you only
6
need
anymore.
5 now.
We only
High
need 5
efficient.
now.
Oh, you only
Yeah,
need it for the
They're more
effi-
efficient, better,
Okay.
yes. Yep.
What's the useful life of what you're planning to install, do we know? Obviously 91 doing the math. Hopefully longer?
I'm going to, we have our facilities supervisor here, Eric Trahan, and I will, ask him to weigh in. I don't know the answer to the question.
Tom, would you push the mic down to him, please? Thank you.
So, if you do the math of what we currently have, I don't know what that is. They're older than 29 years old. The idea of these new ones, they'll be able to take the load off each other, so they don't have to run so many hours on them, kind of like what we're doing now. So what we're doing now is having them all pretty much run, and they lasted about over 29 years, so we hope that they would last longer than 30 years with these new ones.
What's the fuel cost comparison in terms of BTUs produced?
I don't know what we currently have, but I do know that the new boilers will have, they measure by, was it MTH? I don't know. It's pretty much 24,000 BTUs each one of these. I don't know what that actually ranges with cost savings, but
The less, how much less fuel will you need to run these, to heat that building?
so the load
The
that,
question is,
so 2 boilers will take care of the load. I don't know how much gas actually they would need for each one of those boilers.
I would have thought that came out of the study.
I would have thought so too. I
Feasibility
mean,
study.
you're gonna purchase more efficient units, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and the 29-year-olds are very inefficient, I'm certain. And you have a measure of the cost of your existing heat from those units, and there must be a comparative somewhere in there.
I referred to my notes, but I don't have any in, it's about a dictionary list of items.
I'll see if I can find that.
Kevin will find that.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Any questions concerning this?
Yeah, I have a question on the reimbursement. So we ran into this with Deacon's, where we got work done.
Yeah.
And this is the same program, and we left Deacon's to go to the new school, so we're not qualified for the reimbursement funds anymore. Is that correct?
It's a little convoluted, but, no, correct, we lost the reimbursement because we didn't utilize the boilers as long as MSBA felt we should have.
Which is 10 years, is that correct?
Yes and no, depends upon how you interpret their language. But your point being, yes, there's, if we were to shut the building down, as we did with Deegan's, we would, put our reimbursement in peril again. Highly unlikely that Matt's gonna shut down the high school.
We have no plans to do that.
Not to shut it down, but, we were talking about this at the last meeting, that, like, the new school is so much more advanced with technology and so forth. And our high school is behind. And I didn't know if there was a plan in the future to potentially do a new building or something along those lines, so that's why I was just curious.
There
As
is
long-
no plan at this time.
As long as it remains a school. That's what happened with Deacon's, it lost its designation as a school.
Correct, yep.
Had we kept it for 10 years, we wouldn't have lost the 800,000.
Yeah, there was money paid back to the state,
Well,
more or less. Well, I know how it worked,
yeah,
but
they reduced our
they reduced it,
reimbursement.
yeah, they reduced something else. They
$800,000
didn't have to write him a
building
check.
account.
We're talking about doing the change in the middle of summer. Are the systems gonna be able to handle the remainder of the winter?
Yeah, I don't know if they did like a field study.
We hope so.
As we've heard, but from students and teachers alike, that the temperatures aren't maintaining in certain
Yeah.
parts of the school. Is that gonna be an issue for,
It potentially could be an issue, yeah, and we have to, plan for, for that. But we're hoping that it will. This will be the last winter we'll have to get through with these boilers.
Matt, you also have problems with the HVAC over there, the AC over there. Is that been repaired and within your own budgets?
So is you talking about the rooftop unit?
Yes.
We have applied for a grant, or are applying for a grant that, we're putting in that grant, the replacement of that rooftop unit. So, I'm hopeful that we will receive the grant. I'm confident we'll receive the grant. I think we will receive the grant. And, we'll get that done.
Excellent. Because I know there's a lot of imbalance in the way it's getting to the entire building over there with that side, with the summer. Now you're fixing the winter though, which is good. Any other questions? And Matt, or one of you, if you could please supply me with the figures that you just read off, because I'll use them, we will use them in our recommendation.
Okay, sure. Email them to you?
Perfectly fine, yes. Any other questions, gentlemen, ladies?
On the boilers? Or we
On
just,
the boilers, yeah. These are two separate articles.
right.
Hearing none, okay, why don't we move on to 27?
Okay, the roof project is a little bit more complicated. The initial application to MSBA was for the entire roof to be replaced. During the feasibility study, it was learned that sections of the roof do not qualify for MSBA reimbursement. There are 22 sections of roof on top of the middle school, and 7 of them are eligible. The others are not eligible because they're not old enough. They must be 30 years or more old, to be eligible for reimbursement. The feasibility study said that to replace the entire roof will be $8,395,996. Because the entire roof is not eligible for reimbursement, we would only be reimbursed for those 7 sections that are reimbursable, so we would receive $3,104,375. The town would be on the hook for $5,364,952. We talked, I knew that was a big number for the town to swallow. So we talked about, what could we do? It's something that needs to get done. And we decided that we would break the project into 2 parts. Part 1 would be completed in the summer of '23, and it would be certain sections. So if I may, Chair, may I pass it?
Certainly, by all means.
So this will give you a little bit of a visual of what I'm talking about.
Give me a second.
Okay, so this is a nice visual of the middle school roof. Each section of the 22 sections is identified with a letter, as you can see. The letters that are shaded blue are the sections of the roof that are eligible for reimbursement. The section that is outlined in black that says summer of 2023 in my chicken scratch, that's a section of the roof that is leaking very badly. We've had roofing companies come out to repair the roof, and no matter how much they come out and repair it, we continue to have leaks. So what we would like to do is, in the summer of '23, is repair the sections that are outlined in black, F, J, and K. The estimated cost to complete the repair of those sections will be $1.5 million, and that is the warrant article that we have submitted. We would like to notify the taxpayers that we will be bringing a second warrant article at the Springtown meeting for the remainder of the roof. That will be approximately $7.5 million to do the rest of the roof. Portions of the remainder of the roof are reimbursable, as you can see, those blue sections, and portions are not. We thought this might be the best strategy because, one, it gets the worst part of the roof, the part that's leaking the most, repaired as soon as we can. Again, this work would be done in the summer. And it gives us time to let the town and the taxpayers know that we will be bringing a bigger number down the road to complete this project. Unfortunately, it is a very large number, but it is work that needs to be completed.
And it's a section of the roof in the past, if you remember with the seagull discussion, and we've lost some days of instruction because of the leaks that happened in that part of the school.
Yes.
Some parts of the roof are just as old as that though,
Majority.
which is the issue, but this is the worst part.
I'm looking at the explanation across the bottom of it as when the particular buildings were built. I assume that's the blue is the 1950 construction.
Yeah,
Right,
it's the original.
that's when the building was, that section was constructed, but the roof may have been replaced,
Indeed,
yeah.
the structure itself, though, that was the original construction, could agree.
So that blue section, as you referred to with the seagull damage, that was just patched when you had those problems, is that what?
Correct.
That was right after I moved away here, and I kinda laughed about seagulls dropping shells, are you kidding?
Yep.
But, so that's that section, they just patched it to try to get by for the time being, yeah. Yeah, and I
Other places where it's leaking as well, the roof, this is the worst, are there other places throughout the building?
So, F is the one that's been notorious for leaking. We've had leaks in section K. Those are actually literally leaking probably as we speak. What I think is if they covered over an old roof, it's different insulation, so the insulation's just soaking wet. Takes forever to dry out. And J is on the same elevation as K, so that it would be silly not to do J as well. But all those are compromised. When they did test cuts in section A, they found water in those too, so that roof's compromised as well. But it's not leaking through yet. So, like the superintendent said, they're all the same age and they're all on their way out. Those are just the ones that are giving us trouble now. The other ones will be following right after.
Yeah, and roofs are, I mean, look at your own house, you could have leaks and not even know it behind walls and stuff.
That's the
I mean,
thing.
that's,
Mold.
you just don't know it, I mean, a leaky roof, there's
There's
a lot
about
of bad things can happen.
correct. There's about 3 layers of 4-inch insulation underneath this roof too, so could just be leaking a little bit. And like you said, it just hasn't appeared yet. So
Yeah,
It's
it just
hiding
leads to other major or could lead to other major
Correct.
problems, but, yeah, it's, like I said, big numbers, and I think next spring's town meeting, better bring oxygen for people.
Can you define a section?
It's a big number, yeah.
You use, there's 22 sections. What do you characterize is a section?
I'll try to, well, whether it's isolated from other parts at a different elevation, if you might sometimes have to step down from one section to another, they have, cause it would be flashing in between.
correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So just for example, so if we look through M through O, so M, N, O, P, and Q, those look on this like they're all the same elevation, but N is the highest. It's right above the gym. M is the walkway to the ladder to get there. O is the other side as well. And P and K have about a 4-foot different elevation right there too. So, yeah, and Q as well. So that's how they're breaking it down to sections like that.
Okay, I just
As far
wanted
as
to
the
hear you
architect
articulate
is.
it.
Yeah. So how the school district treats these is not these letters, but it goes A, B, C, D, and E. Only because section A on this is actually the construction in the remodel, I guess you could say, of E-wing. That was in 2004. So that's how it started on the left. So A, B, C, and D, and then now E. But as the architect did, we have the whole.
I used to service MIT, and that was another issue. A would be next to building Z, and never figure out why.
Just being kinda nosy with schools, I know what it is on a house, can you put a roof on top of a roof, or does everything have to be stripped down?
That was my question.
So I think that this has happened in the past, that this is actually re-roofed. This 2004 roof is a roof on top of a roof.
So there's already 2 layers of roof there.
I believe so, yep.
And it was done in 2004?
So the test cuts show that when they did the construction of, this is when it's gonna get weird, A wing on this, which is actually our E wing, they replaced majority of the roof as well. As far as
They
laying down
replaced-
new
they
roof.
replaced
18 years
F,
ago,
right?
replaced this roof.
18
Yeah.
years ago, correct, which still doesn't fall in the MSBA guidelines of being 29 years or older.
And it's beyond the warranty of the roof.
And, yep, 15
Beyond
years
the
was the
warranty.
warranty, so missed that by 3
Yeah,
years.
but this is 10% of the cost of our new school.
To do
To just do the roof.
these
Yeah,
roofs.
yeah.
And,
Huh?
and would you take it all the way, you take, just to your point, take the whole roof down, take all the layers of insulation and figure it out, or is it?
That's what this
Okay.
number is. To
Yeah,
take all the
for
insulation,
everything.
everything existing, bring it down to the roof structure and build back up. Build it the correct way. That way it lasts.
So this quote's allowing for new insulation and things like that.
Everything, yep.
Okay.
Not just the new roof.
And you will
Not just for
definitely-
a PVC or
you-
TPO.
You'll get some questions, solar, why are we gonna put
Oh.
solar in here?
I think we have a meeting next week just to
Yeah, we
discuss
do.
things like that, just to see if it's
Yeah.
even feasible, so.
Yeah, that's another issue. I have some detail. I'll send you the detail, Matt, on, for the new building in regarding that. That was the project manager on that, who figured that out for us. Excuse me, but back to this. We kind of, both articles, if you would send me the detail on that, we will put it in our report so they will be aware of that. Even having the heads up for that, doing the roof coming in the Springtown meeting. Have a number of other issues. This has been ongoing now for at least 3 years, the leaking.
I was
It's been
told
talked
that,
about for quite some time, it
Yeah.
seems.
Mhm.
Do you give a lot of weight to the seagull issue?
I mean, where they're aiming for, definitely, with the
So you think it's
PVC.
definitely the seagulls?
I believe
On their
it's,
takeoff, or they,
I believe they
Clamp.
don't help anything, so.
So is this a rubber roof? Is
It's
that?
PVC membrane, so
And that's what you would replace it with, or
a thicker PVC,
PVC, okay.
correct. I believe that's what we're looking for.
And what would that be guaranteed for how many years?
It'd be a warranty. I don't know what the manufacturer warranty would be. I think we would be using Sonofil, which is what we're using now, just a thicker material. We can go with something heavier grade, but it would cost a lot more. We're already really high with that number, so we don't wanna let that go even higher. But I can refer to the notes and answer.
But somebody's gonna be sitting here 15, 20 years from now, answering these same damn questions.
Yep,
Be
So
good to know what the
we ought to know what
warranty is.
it's, we ought to know what the.
correct.
Is it the black roof that may be attracting them? Is there a different color? I mean, it
So it's
seems,
white.
seems strange to talk about seagulls wrecking the roof, but,
It's white, currently.
Okay.
They did mention, black, but there was reasons why not to.
like,
So it's
go out
too much-
sun and stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
Even so, yeah,
yeah,
doesn't
get
help
that.
with
I
the
think they don't
insulation of
do
the
it.
building.
Something, I mean, it just seems odd.
yeah.
Is there
the
any
buil-
other remediation for these to keep the birds off?
Those little whirly things that people put on boats, some CDs hanging from something.
It's not them actually landing, it's them dropping shells.
Dropping
on
shell and
metal
break them,
things,
yeah.
to break their shells so they can actually eat.
Yeah.
But like I said, where they're aiming for is the roof drains, and where that is, it's sloped down, so the PVC is actually lifting up from the insulation underneath. So it's like throwing a shell through a piece of paper at that point. It's not hitting a hard surface, it's hitting
Right,
a
right.
paper, up in the air a little bit by
Yeah.
a couple inches going right through. We've had companies out there patching for years now, so it's time to really act on this, so we don't have any more school closures.
How old are the figures that you're giving us this evening?
We received them earlier this month.
Correct.
We also ought to look at what, if doing the whole damn thing and what the difference in cost per square foot is, and, I mean, this, you jumped to the conclusion that you didn't wanna spend
Right.
this much money, but you're gonna come back a year from now and spend more money,
Right.
Well,
and you got a new
Be melding it together.
contractor coming in and all of that.
Mm.
I think the idea was to have the same contractor in, kind of quote out for this, and then the bigger project. I'm not clear if that's the route that we're gonna go with, but I do understand.
And the other thing, kind of to his point, between now and next year, what's the cost gonna be? I mean, the way things are going up right now, and supply issues and, I mean, it's just
My
an
same-
ugly thing out there right now, trying to get things done.
Matt?
That's my same question on, as you, is there room, is there wiggle room? I mean, if things go up in 6 months, are we still gonna be able to afford that? Or is the number gonna change?
These numbers are for tacked inflation. I think the numbers that you see are the kind of worst case scenario type of numbers. Hopefully they don't get bid that high, but
Yeah.
I think, the cost estimators are taking that into consideration.
Consideration, okay.
Yes.
Can we assume that there's no asbestos or any other surprises that we might?
I have the reports, I can
Okay.
look through and make sure that we're good to go.
No surprises, that would not be
They
good.
did, so each section had at least 3 test cuts on each. I don't see any asbestos in their reports as far as what they submitted to the MSBA.
You wouldn't build it
Yeah.
15 years ago.
You know, and you never
Unless they
know
lay it down on the roof.
1950 you might have.
how
but
people are
yeah.
gonna react, though, but another project that was discussed last night was, the Mill Pond, the dam. And the general consensus was, let's do it right the first time. Cause I don't know if anybody watched that last night, but, it was interesting, and she did a great job presentation. But at the end of the day, some questions were asked that I was even thinking about, and they said, let's just do this right the first time, cause they gave 3 options. That might be something to, well, I'm not promoting one way or the other, it's your expertise per se, but, that was the feeling last night coming out of the Board of Selectmen. That doesn't mean town meeting's gonna like it, but yeah, they said.
We had met with Derek Sullivan and Judy Whiteside to discuss this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they're good
Yeah.
roofers.
So,
We have to put this in context. We're borrowing money, and every time we borrow, we have to make a payment. That payment comes out of our operating capital, unless we do an override. So every time we're borrowing, we're lessening what we have for operational revenues, and the revenues are not good. And this is between the 2 roofs, including what you proposed for the annual town meeting in April, is about 10 million. We have the police station and that issue, which is another 15 to 20 million. We have a couple other issues that are categorized in several millions of dollars. And all our, we're running skeletal staff, we need more people, we can't find them at times. There's a lot of issues that are coming up all at the same time. And a lot of them require borrowing. And as I said, every dollar reduces our operational costs. So if borrowing, if we have to pay 500,000 a year over this, that's 500,000 less. And we can only go up 2.5%. And by the time we're paying, we have to pay our employees their raises, you're in negotiations yourself on your side of the house and all. So there's a lot of things knocking at the door for that single dollar.
That's why I said bring oxygen.
Yeah.
But you know what, talking about the funding, and I brought this up last week, I'm glad you folks are sitting here and can hear it from me, 'cause I could be the bad guy. You're still sitting on COVID money. I'm gonna say a little less than 2 million if I remember right from last year. I personally would like to see that money spent first on these projects. Not just whatever your thought process may be, and that would be the recommendation I make when we get to that point is, if it's a couple $1 million coming out of our side, not the 71%, I'd like to see it applied to that, and that'd be that much less the town would have to borrow.
Right.
Because there are a lot of things, there's a scary amount of things coming up. Chairman named a few, but there's others.
The worst one being we're shut down in terms of expansion because of the sewer problem. And that's overall a $60 million project. Obviously, it's not gonna become upfront that, but we're already spending, we have borrowing coming up. They have monies in their retained earnings, but that's only so much.
It
And
pretty
that's
much covers the engineering.
Yeah, and that comes from the ratepayers. And so as I said, there's a lot of things going on that are gonna be touching our dollar.
Yeah.
And,
That, if I may, that was part of our discussion when we talked about, you know, should we bring the whole project to the fall town meeting? And the fear was that if it didn't pass, then we have nothing.
Right.
And this, you know, part F has got to be replaced. I mean, and so by breaking it out, we felt like we're increasing our chances of getting it passed and at least getting that done. And then bringing the you know, the rest of the project to a later vote.
oh, indeed, and that's a wise move, because as we've been discussing, we're trying to do things incrementally so that we can get a project done, almost finished with that project, and we can start another project we're overlaying, so we don't have this all at the same time. So we can get some done ahead of ourselves and be able to afford to go on to the next one. So there's one end's falling off, and we're picking it up over here. So we kind of stabilized our obligations financially and the borrowing issues, but still getting our project done, necessary projects. Obviously, if you let the roof leak, your building's deteriorating even further, and that's gonna cost more money in restoration.
Has the application already been put in for the state?
Yes.
I assume there's timelines that they want in a timely manner, which they don't respond in timely manner sometimes, but that's neither here nor there. So the application's already in and,
We're fortunate, but it's disappointing. We're fortunate we get reimbursed for 71%. The reason we're getting reimbursed that high is because there's so many special needs within the community. Who, by the way, pay for everything, that little difference. Any
Yeah.
other questions, gentlemen?
just
Yes.
one more
Laura?
quick comment there. You were talking about doing the whole roof in the sewer, doing a little here, you know, different things, and it's almost like you go in a town meeting and you just hit them once in the upside the head, and you give them a little bunch of body shots, you know, because the money needs to be spent. I mean, nobody's disputing the roof or a boiler. As the sewerage, nobody's disputing the need for that, or a police station. These are all things this town desperately needs, you know, and you try to prioritize them. I don't think we're in that position now, because I think this is every bit as important, your articles as the sewer articles. I mean, you know, and it's,
The idea is that we're not planning well enough, far enough out to know to have our cash managed better. I mean, let's face it.
but, and I agree to a point, but sometimes things just happen. I mean, you can have your 10-year capital outlay plan, and 3 years into it, the roof goes. I mean, there's no way to plan some of these things, you know, and I brought that up, you know, the maintenance department wants 3 trucks. They're all gone in the same year. I mean, that's terrible planning.
Norma?
What is the capacity of this building and how many students are there in the building?
There are roughly 400, I believe, students in the building. I don't have the exact number.
It's five through seven.
It's, yeah, grades 5 through 7. I don't know the capacity of, I can find out and email that.
Do you know what the trend has been with this school? Is it increasing, decreasing, staying about the same?
The numbers,
Yes.
I think they're slightly decreasing.
But they've moved grades in and out of it. The school's been.
I think with the new elementary school, though, you might see that stabilize a little bit, I would hope. For the kids' sake, too, you know, I mean, they don't wanna.
The seagull count has gone up.
Gotta do something about
And
that.
central office has moved into that building too.
Yes, yep.
Yeah. No, the building they do a good job there.
Yeah, you know, you try to tell people when budgets get tight and stuff, and this is true town-wide, it's not the school, is the first thing they cut is maintenance. You know, do you put a new roof on, or do you cut 2 cops? I'm just using them for an example. I mean, so the first thing that goes is maintenance, and the stuff finally catches up to you over time. And you pay the price at some point.
The length of time that this roof has existed is not good.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
So just to add to that, the middle school has 450 enrolled, grades 5 through 7. high school has 630 enrolled, 8 through 12 is their grades. Dig that one out, sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What'd you say for the high school, please?
Oh, man.
37.
Yeah, 630.
6:30, okay.
630, thank you. That's grades 8.
I'll check that against the report that I received December 15th, I think.
How's the school going? How's school going?
Great.
Good.
Great.
Everybody healthy and
Everybody's healthy, well, most everybody's healthy. and-
we got a need for teachers or?
Yes. Teaching staff, we're doing okay. There are some positions that are difficult to hire for. There's not many people out there. But bus drivers, if anybody wants to drive a bus, we need bus drivers. That's been really challenging. Paraprofessionals, but really those are the two areas that hiring's been tough.
Now, the bus drivers, is it kind of like almost like a bidding war? Now, I know they increased their pay was it last year or the year before, whenever it was, but, then the town next door, so they kind of can pick their,
Yeah,
Places
yeah,
they wanna
it's
work.
very competitive, absolutely.
we heard that from Guy when he was here too. He says, these guys, he hires them, say, for $22 an hour, and if Guy was hiring them for 26,
Yeah.
they're gone.
Right, and we're recruiting people, and they're coming from another district, and when the other district learns that they're leaving, they up their pay. They say, we want you to stay, we'll pay you more. So, yeah.
How's
Yeah.
morale? How's teacher morale? I know there's so many reports. I have a daughter who's a teacher. A lot of stress,
A lot of
a lot
stress.
of burnout.
Yeah, a lot of stress. The learning loss because of the pandemic has created challenges for the teachers that they've never seen before. So it's tough to get the kids caught up, back up to grade level.
And I think our legislators, in their infinite wisdom, are determining possibly adding 2 years so the teacher's gonna retire 2 years early.
Yeah.
And I was
I
talking
saw
with
that a
Scott
couple weeks ago.
regarding this issue, and he's trying to find replacements.
Yeah, that would
Just
be,
of our
that
own.
would be, that would be a mistake. That would be, we wouldn't be able to find people.
No, they're not out there. They have-
Yeah.
You gotta change your methods. I mean, you gotta use more technology and you added computers, only 3 years ago, maybe? So, I mean, there are tools out there, you just gotta figure out how you're gonna make them be more productive if you can't get the people.
You gotta have somebody at the other end of that computer too.
Pardon me?
That's right.
You gotta have somebody at the other end of that computer too, and
Yeah, we can't learn everything by computer, and it's not who we are.
It's tough.
We're an animal, we have certain instincts, and they're not served by computers.
Well, I think the pandemic showed that, how important it is that the kids are in school.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else? Nothing? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Matt, I would appreciate those numbers. I need them because we'll put them in our report. I wanna be accurate.
As soon as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't know if you saw the Wareham Elementary School, they had, he was the guest reader for pre-K today. Our superintendent.
Nice.
He was the guest reader for the pre-K class, and
How'd you do with Dominic?
that, he went and read to
Read a story.
the kids.
Oh, yeah.
And it was was on the Wareham, elementary school pages, this morning.
Okay, next item on our agenda, as we typically do, the articles which we heard last week, we can go through and doing our voting and recommendations. And I would also ask, as we do that, if you would volunteer to write the Finance Committee recommendation.
I was ready to make a motion.
No, you're not gonna get away with that. Easy peasy.
I remarked them all up, the ones I was gonna do.
No, because these are done in categories, you could easily, one or two of you get together, or one of you, and do all of them. You don't have to separate them out. But the first one we have is Article 7, which is housekeeping, return and CPC funds. unused funds for an article, let's see, it's 200,000, from the undesignated funds account from the restoration of the Tremont Nail Building.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. I think there's 8 of us.
Yes.
Yep.
8 people.
Article 8, CPA funds to make the payment on the monies borrowed.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion?
Keep up.
There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 If we get a nay vote in anything, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, but in this case, it's unanimous. Article 9, reserve funds adjustments. This is required by law in the CPC legislation, that they have a certain balance in each one of 3 accounts.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Article 10, again, making a payment on monies borrowed in support from CPAC funds to purchase Little Harbor.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, how is Little Harbor doing?
Doing very well. In spite,
That was
What are
my
the
question.
numbers?
Do we
Yeah.
have profit and loss for the summer yet?
Huh? What are the
See
numbers?
anything?
we don't run it.
Yeah.
We do not run that. Well, we don't
I
have,
understand, but we had 1,322 golfers last year.
I understand.
And how many have we had
And-
this year?
And
And
the
what's the revenue?
information was provided to us when we purchased it. But now the management company runs it.
But we do-
But the point is, they have to show up.
But they have to
They
show
have to
us,
It's
show
the
you what
books.
the hell they're
you
doing.
know,
Yeah,
yeah.
They're getting a percentage,
Your
you're not getting the whole
specific
thing.
request was, we do not run that operation.
Yes, but
We
get a
hired them, and
percentage of
part of
that.
that hiring is we have got to know
We have a
what the
contract.
damn thing is producing.
They make, I'll send you the contract.
I don't care about the contract, I wanna know.
Because the language in the
I wanna know
contract,
the activity.
describes our relationship with them and our relationship to their accounting.
don't
How
they
could
give us
we
a
ever do a deal with
percent?
somebody,
I don't-
we bought a $3 million golf course. It's
No,
supposed-
we bought $3 million, 54 acres.
so
I understand that, but
it's complicated. I was on the golf committee and whoever wrote the RFP wrote it so really no one could actually bid on it except for the company that got it. So it was written incorrectly to begin with, so there wasn't multiple bidders. So really there was only one company to negotiate with. And my understanding when I was on the committee is we were gonna review a P&L every month, see how things were going, but that's not how it went at all. So there was some issues with the RFP and the way that was done, and that's why we ended up with the company we did. Not that they're a bad company, but that's why we.
well, what are
ended
they
up with that
paying
company.
us?
They're supposed to pay a percentage, but that wasn't disclosed to us even on the committee. We weren't, they did not tell us, how that contract, they didn't go over it with us, they didn't review it with us, none of that happened and it was supposed to.
Who's they?
Whoever, it was the town and negotiated with the, Sterling, I think it was.
Yeah, Sterling
Sterling.
got it, but I was involved in the early stages of it, and all of a sudden I got dropped out. Because what you're referring to is, we have 3 contracts. One was Dartmouth, a couple others, which were as you described.
Mhm.
And the result didn't come out like that.
And it was something in the RFP, they had basically awarded it to another company, and then they had to retract it, because, because it was something that they didn't cover. And I'm not sure, I'm not sure exactly what it was, cause we asked a lot of questions, but we didn't get a lot of answers. So, but we asked it, and that was a frustration. So I feel your frustration. I was frustrated when I was on the.
What about the $30,000 septic system they're putting in there?
We're paying for it?
Yeah, it's 50. Well, it was, that's what they,
Where's
the
that
line item
stand?
said 50, but that's separate.
Where does it stand? I mean, they
I don't think they
needed it.
put it in, they didn't put it in the summer.
I know they didn't. I'm asking, where is it?
Town meeting set the money aside. The appropriation, part of it was the 50,000 set aside.
I think they're doing it in the fall.
Are they?
I'm almost positive. based
This is
on
the fall.
Tom,
True.
Yeah.
I can't answer your questions
Almost
because
a
I don't
winter.
know.
Yeah. But that, I mean, it doesn't make any sense that we do not know what the activity level of that.
Well, it
place is.
depends on the perspective of setting it up. It was very specific that we were not gonna be involved. We made commitments to town meeting that we would not be involved in the management of the course. Now, I'm not trying to satisfy you, Tom. I'm just telling you the circumstances, so that we do not have the review. As Tom has outlined, the original one that he and I both have seen is that we have periodic reports, and we have a percentage comes back to us. That didn't happen with this contract. I don't know why it didn't happen, but it didn't. It was still gonna be, we were gonna be divorced from it, but we were have some, if not supervisor, at least some benefit from it.
Yeah, and it's 2.6 years. So
That was my question. How many years is on the contract?
2.6 years with two mutual one-year renewals. So if it's not going well, or the town's not satisfied, whatever, we don't have to renew, we can change the RFP, and if we change the RFP, then we can put this out to bid and get more companies to bid.
And there were no issues as to how much they were gonna charge or anything of that nature? I mean,
No, you mean greens fees and all that? No, there was nothing that the town said they had to do.
I gotta tell you, I'm very disappointed. I was under the assumption, as Tom's speaking to now, that we were gonna see some kind of financial reports. And I'm not surprised we're not seeing it now. When they decide to close their doors, which will probably be early December, maybe a little bit later, I can't speak to that. But all I can say is when money goes into the revolving account where our percentage is supposed to go, because we're on the hook if they gotta buy any major expenditures down there.
Correct.
Right.
So, I'm just gonna use the last fairway,
was
I
where
was in
the
the golf
percentage was
business.
supposed
The
to
last
go
fairway
to
mower I bought was
replace the lawnmower.
$75,000.
Capital items, yes.
Yeah, and there's gonna be,
Wow.
there's issues there.
I'm really surprised.
Okay.
Dude, but you remember, tell me, I said the equipment was junk,
Oh, yeah,
Right.
junk.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah.
yeah.
I wanted the property to stay with the town. I mean, that was,
Yeah, it's a long story, but
Yeah.
for sure, but for sure. And in the way that it was handled, the town actually kept the equipment, and really what they could have done was given them a 5-year contract instead of 2.6, and then he would have brought in all his own equipment. And then we wouldn't have had to worry about buying equipment. So this
I
was a
didn't
lot of
mean to get off.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff with the.
No, but Tom, it's a good question. It's a good
no, you
question.
made a legitimate, yeah, it's a
I mean, we've
great
seen it
question.
operating, we say, oh, it's
Well,
making money.
The answer is awful,
yeah.
I'll tell you that.
But I couldn't get an answer as to what.
Yeah.
It was running a percentage ahead of last year, the best I could do. I made a note to request the Little Harbor RFP and contract.
No, yeah, I don't have to, I mean, you can't do anything about it now anyway, so.
It's a good question.
I just
though.
was,
No,
I'm
but-
just curious as to,
2.6 years.
I happen to go by that course several times a day.
And I said, when this
And I've
first
been doing-
started,
I played there in 1962, starting there. So I get an idea of what the activity level is there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been okay, but it certainly has been, I have not been impressed by the head count,
yeah.
just driving through. And so
Yeah,
that's why I
agreed.
asked the question.
See, I knew it was gonna be,
And it's a
I said
valid
right when
question.
this started, it was gonna be Sterling Golf. I knew that right from the very, I said to you, it's gonna be Sterling
I was
Golf.
rather disappointed some others didn't come in, but I think it was a reluctance of the family to part with information. And so the other companies, they weren't gonna go into it like that, because it's a small course. It could be, I mean, excuse me, they hadn't been marketing it the last couple of years, so their revenues were down, and so, I mean, these outfits are in it to make money.
That's why you run a business, to make money. But golf took off during COVID. Absolutely took off everywhere.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
On the other flip side of that, if we are in fact going into a recession, I went through the recession in '07, '08, and '09, running a golf course. When I tell you the numbers just dropped off, would be an understatement. Memberships, rounds, everything. So, you know, it's, and weather has a lot to do with it too, you know,
Yeah,
obviously.
We didn't have a hurricane this year.
I'm just very
We didn't
disappointed.
have any rain.
A lot of heat, no rain.
Well, we're definitely going into a recession.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor. We're a little
Sorry.
afield of
Thanks,
it.
Tom.
No, but,
No, I'm glad you brought it up
Yeah.
because
But that's what we do here, and that's why we're so important, because we ask all the questions. Because this blew right through the selectmen last night. Any other, God forbid I should ask the question, any other discussion? There being none, all those in favor say, let me refresh. I'll ask for a motion, please.
make a motion for Article 10, Little Harbor Country Club.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Next one, Article 11.
It's the new
Which is-
waterways.
waterway rules.
Yes. Harbor Master presented this. It's-
I read it and
You read it?
I was pleased with what I saw.
A lot of work in that.
A lot of work, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
well done.
Well done, very well done.
And
And looking at accountability and fees and, yeah, I was impressed.
And when I was talking to Judy Whiteside regarding, because she, of course, being the chair, has to read it, she had asked him to reduce the pages because there was well up into the 30 pages. And some of the places, as he had told us, are up into 70 pages in this particular thing. I'm going to ask him if he will give me a little more. There's two pieces of paper that I sent to everyone, and it had charts on it. I think it was prices comparisons, because we had asked him that, what he had before. And I just want to be sure that I get a proper title for each page, so that whomever reads it will know that the columns are referring to comparing prices for mooring fees, et cetera, things of that nature. Okay, Article 11. May I have a motion, please?
Motion, so moved, to recommend.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Next is a housekeeping, so to speak.
The next,
I move to recommend Article 12.
Second.
This is transferring 23,000 from permits receipts reserved to an appropriation account so we can pay for.
Wait for his motors.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It's a vote.
I move to recommend Article 13.
Second.
Article 13 is to transfer $58,750 from permits to appropriations to pay the debt service on the Onset Pier floating docks. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote.
I move to recommend Article 14.
Second.
14, I have a motion and seconded. Transfer the sum of $37,000 from permits receipts to pay for patrol boat, the UHF communications upgrade, $9,500 for 2 patrol vessels, and repair, place, and maintain equipment, markers, moorings, docks, etc., in the amount of $27,500. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote.
I move to recommend Article 15.
I don't think we've gotten,
No, we haven't considered that yet.
Oh,
That's the, next week.
Interesting on
Just
those boat things,
Mhm.
is each of the fire departments have boats.
Yep.
Police departments have boats, and the harbor master has boats.
I think he's got bigger boats.
He does. The harbor
Faster
master does,
boats.
harbor master has a bigger boat.
If you sat down and said, how would you really manage it, you'd have boats, but you'd have one point of control.
I think,
And they also ought to have some drones, I'm serious.
yes. I don't think Harbor Master has drones. I think the others do, because I was talking with Gary Saturday, and he was commenting someone ought to put some drones up to get some photos of the fair that was going on.
But, I mean, and he's got all of the woods and everything else that, I think he could definitely use them.
Oh, indeed. I think the police may have some. You have to be licensed too.
Yeah, depending on the type of size,
Yeah.
type of drone you have. But they're coming, man.
You need somebody to fly the drone though, so you need a pilot.
Not if you got a small enough drone.
Well,
Well, it's true.
Well, it depends on the size.
Recreational, there's ones that are good.
Depends on how you're using it.
But even recreational
But you can
needs
get
a
some great
license now.
pictures out.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, even recreational requires a license now.
Yeah, there were some good pictures from Saturday with a drone
Hmm.
over
Yeah.
on set and stuff.
Now, next week, we'll handle the sewer. And also remind everyone, Saturday, 10 o'clock, down to the sewer. Guy's gonna give us a tour. He always enjoys that stuff. And also, we'll be handling the petitioned articles.
So on Saturday, how much time should we put aside?
I would say 2 hours.
How long can you hold your breath?
The next question.
I'm
That's
told,
not nice.
I'm told Vicks Vapor Rub would be a
Oh,
a mustache there.
Wow,
Reapply.
yeah.
because this is a lot of work. Here is, I read this report is illuminating. I guess,
The,
big project, big project.
the financing, and yes, the entirety of that project is so mind-boggling when they're coming in asking for monies also. And theirs, when I said it was 10 million, that was our portion of it, after the reimbursement. But the 60 million is its entirety, and it's very dependent on receiving a lot of grants just to get it down to 60 million. But what they're doing now is something, it's the reason they were created, which was about 5 years ago. And that's when the selectmen were doing it. And because they were political, they were, campaigning that I'm gonna raise your sewer rates and the like, and getting reelected as selectmen. So they've offloaded it to a group that is specifically required to do so. And they have finally evaluated all the needs, which are, astronomical. But we're trying to think in terms of financing it, because they got $6 million, I think it's around 6, in retained earnings, and paying for a portion of these projects, borrowing the balance of the project, and as I was mentioning earlier, kind of overlapping. Like you get Swift Speech, you get it in place and you're borrowed money. Okay, now, next year, or the year after, when you're about to say a 5-year bond, hypothetically, you're into it for 2 years, you start your next project. So now you may have 3 projects going at the same time, but one's always falling off and you're picking up another one. So you're kind of balancing out your borrowing, but you're getting your projects done. But with them, it's 2 divisions. I was aghast when they said some kind of augers or whatever don't go to the bottom of the tank.
Mhm.
Why not? There's always something at the bottom of the tank. Good golly.
Oh, it's
Last
skimmer.
year's capital plan, the highest year through 26 was spending $6 million. We're not running a business here like you should be running a business and looking out ahead.
which we're currently trying to do, I'm a
Yeah.
party to it, is, as you say, let's plan this thing out. Let's identify our needs, what we can afford to do, and work it out so that over time, it's like the
no
capital,
surprises.
it's like the
I mean,
five-year
there's-
capital plan. We'll have a 10 or 20-year, so we have to go forward. We have a plan, so we can, someone comes in and asks for something, and
This guy's gonna
You're not for
make
2
it
years.
happen.
You know, what kind of happened too is, I'm not making excuses for anybody, but when the selectmen were responsible for the rates, and this happened in the town I just came from, if the DPW guy at that point, or the sewer commissioner came in and said, I need a 9% raise to maintain the system, well, the selectmen are elected positions, and they wouldn't go up 9%. They'll say, well, we'll go up 4%.
But this sewer
Yeah, that-
committee is also elected they're elected positions, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not,
they're all
people
used.
don't take them, and I don't know what the way I wanna look, people look, selectmen are more concerned about getting reelected. They're very concerned sometimes, I mean,
Well, their pay is
well,
ridiculous.
it's crazy how much they get, but yeah, they just would always be afraid to go up the mountain, and now, unfortunately, you know, Guy is the messenger, and he's the one who's gonna take the heat from it, but he's playing catch-up on a lot of things. And that goes back to what I said, maintenance is always the first thing to get cut.
And he's been the manager for a long time.
Yeah. And he
He's
wasn't
too-
always the guy that set the rates, as the selectmen did, for how long? How long has the sewer commissioner's been in place?
5 years,
Oh,
Tom?
yeah,
5 or 6 years?
Not long.
Not that
Oh,
long,
really?
but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, he's the manager.
Correct.
He's running a, what is it, $16 million business or something like that.
My point being, though, if he went into the selectmen and said, you know, I need 10%, they would say, what, you out of your mind? Whereas this past year, and I brought up, they went up about 15%, and didn't bat an eye.
They haven't collected yet for that 15%. They're not collecting until March of next year for the 15%. They have not been going up.
That's for the loan that they took out that they
No,
needed that
no,
money
this
for.
is for the rates.
Oh,
These
the
are
rates.
rates.
They're postponed until the,
Oh, they
you're
are?
right, next year.
That I was not aware of.
The rates, the effect of the rate increases, they don't feel until March of next year.
So now they're gonna put
That's when they
this
figure
on
that.
top of that?
I mean,
Yes, that's why when they were asking for their monies, I said, there's a lot of impact going on against the dollar.
Yeah, but the
Just
first,
looking at the committed future flow rates, looking at the impact of those, that according to this, we have no choice but to, I don't know how you're doing it. I'm looking at the
if they should-
percentages
they
and the
should be
flows,
making
and
more money.
we're gonna be talking to DEP a lot.
Yeah, and the unfortunate part, when you look at this town meeting, you know, obviously the school needs what they need, you need a roof and you need heat. I mean, the sewer department needs it, that's a lot of money, and there's debt on here that we have to pay, the golf course and outboard motors and whatever. You know, those are debts we've incurred and we're responsible for them, we can't say no now and not pay the loan. You know, and it's a lot of money, that's.
Okay,
It was.
in addition, as I mentioned, we voted on the articles. I would like to have some volunteers to write the finance committee recommendations for them.
I will do the Hubbard Master versions.
Outstanding, we got, okay, everybody
Give me a
line up
sample
behind,
of what it should look like.
Get last year's,
Look at last year's.
yeah,
Okay.
last year's report.
yeah.
Okay, I will do
We
that.
plagiarized in this job.
That's right. It's not a magnum opus.
cutting and pasting
some-
is so much better than trying to think
Yeah,
of
some of the
things.
housekeeping
That
ones are
sounds
just
better
cut
than
and paste.
plagiarize.
Okay. Just get it to you, Bernie, is that the?
Yes,
Okay.
okay, and for the cover,
When was this?
I got a couple recommendations, and I agree with them very much so. The fair that we had some great pictures. And one in particular that really tickled me, and I'm in the wrong folder. I just had it out recently. It was the one with the
Yeah, you showed
young
it when
fellow.
you came in.
Oh, be darned, I can't find it now. Oh, well, Anyway, it was a photo of the young fellow waving from his father's truck, antique truck, as he was going by. And the alternative one is a picture of the people on the beach. There's a burst of fireworks, and then there's the SpaceX going across the sky, all in the same photo.
Cool.
So see which one we'll print or reproduce.
Why can't you do
Easily.
both on the cover?
I could, I'll see it show, but if you shrink it down, you don't have as much
Oh,
detail.
I agree, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, I'm not really sure how it would impact.
Yeah, but I'm thinking also too, though, of, have one on the cover, and then when they turn the page, have the others, and just describe it. Even reprint the article that, I can't think of her name now, it used to be Chloe, she's not the, writer anymore. I've already I left them a note to get permission to use their photos and like. But that was for the cover, and as far as the, Tom, the year end and the year-to-date printout, DOR hasn't certified it yet.
I don't care.
They do.
Yeah, but
The accountant certifies it, won't release it until it's certified. And that
wait
that
a
also,
minute. We're part of an
Year-to-date I can
ongoing,
get, but I
living,
can't get the
breathing
other.
thing, and so this is our health right now. We'll find out when it gets certified what the changes were made, but at least you gotta know what the, it's,
and we'll have, and they'll give us
Huh?
they'll certify free cash also.
yeah. I just wanna know what the revenues have been, what we're getting from marijuana, the sales taxes are. I
And
mean,
you'll have
I
all
wanna get a-
that, and you'll have all that.
Yeah, but that was, that was 6 months ago. Or
It
4
closed
months ago.
It closed June 30th.
Yeah, I mean,
And the
goodness.
accountant that puts it down, they have to send it to DOR
3
for
months.
certification.
I mean, it's like if you're driving the car and you're saying, you're driving along and we'll let you know where you're going when you get there. I mean, it's just,
If they can give us a 2 or 3 month revenue and expense, they can give us a 12-month revenue and expense for year end. You can call it draft.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
should be
You know.
easy accounting.
Because they give something to them
Oh, it
that
is.
they
It's all
call the
done.
certified accountants.
They just
at
wait for
the end of the
DOR to
year.
say, yes, that's,
We understand
I
what
mean,
you're
agree.
saying.
Derek is in there a week after and says, come on, help me go through this, so I understand.
and the, next week, as I mentioned, the articles we will hear, the following week, we'll do the rest of them, which will be Derek. And in my last conversation, which, this morning, is that we may have to wing it in terms of knowing what our free cash is, because DOR hasn't certified it yet.
I mean, I just.
I mean, we can't appropriate it until we have certification. We'll have to say pending. Usually, we've always had it before the meeting, but it doesn't necessarily mean we'll have it 2 weeks before when we print our report.
I knew when you asked for it, it was gonna be close whether you'd be here by town meeting, all these reports.
Well, yeah, but I.
It always is.
I know you
It
can
always
draft,
is.
I'm not disputing
Yeah,
any
it
of
always
that.
is, yeah.
It's usually the week before meeting. I
Yeah,
mean,
we
heck,
made all our recommendations and all, and spent the money, and we finally find out we do have the money.
How much do we have?
Because we, DOR, by law, you can't spend it unless they certify it.
So next week you're doing the
Petition
petition
and the sewer.
I've heard the sewer so many times now. Cause I won't, as of right now, if my kitchen cabinets don't come in by Friday, I'll be here. If, the demolition my house,
Where are they coming from?
I have no idea. Except that they're on the truck and they're on their way.
Oh,
Do you
And I've heard that story before.
Somebody to take these as well. Julie
on the CPC articles.
take for these, but we still have these to written up.
The Tremont Nail,
Yeah, the CPA,
CPA,
yeah.
I
Who wants- what do you
missed
mean?
on
Yeah,
what
we
they.
haven't gotten a volunteer.
No, we
so
haven't.
Said about the dam.
good point.
They made 3 proposals.
Okay,
That was-
I will not entertain a motion to adjourn until I have a volunteer to do the CPC articles recommendation.
I'll do CPC. My wife just does the minutes.
So,
Let's see, I'll put Tom, I wanna put an H, I think I'll put a W.
they did a great presentation last night for the selectmen, kinda scaled it down and went through it pretty quickly. They had 3 recommendations.
I saw the red domes.
One was a partial repair, for lack of a better word. One was a full repair, and one was a hybrid, kinda taking the best of both type thing. And each one went up in money, you know,
For the dam.
so,
What is the money?
they never really said. A lot of it is infrastructure money coming from the feds. The government's sitting on a ton of money.
There was one,
Whether at the state level or the federal level, they're sitting on a ton of money.
I kinda lost track, there was one presentation where we could leverage most of the monies out of the state and federal.
Correct.
Right. Other than the full replacement,
Full replacement, yeah.
the full replacement, they
Do we
couldn't
know who
leverage
owns
as
the
much
dam
because
yet? Is it
one of the bridges
the-
is almost new.
Yeah.
Damn, oh, what?
The argument between the town ownership and, the Cranberry people, make peace?
Don't know anything about it. I know that's been an ongoing fight that wasn't even discussed last night, so it must have been resolved.
Really? That's
Yeah.
not the first
Well,
time
didn't
I've
they-
heard
But
of that, a dispute about who owns dams.
when I was first on this committee, it was, we put $8 million into repairing the dam because the dam in Taunton or someplace close gave up, failed.
Hmm.
And so everybody was concerned about the dam.
Yeah. The full reconstruction kinda just makes it a waterway, so those standing water bodies will be gone, and the fish, they got fish counters out there, which I said, how do you count fish?
Yeah.
They have fish count, so
Yeah.
the one they wanted doing it, but it impacts some bridges upstream.
Yeah.
And that's where the state kinda comes in, they'll have to do some bridge replacements and things like that, and that would be the state's
So they take the
responsibility.
dam out, is that what they're doing?
No dams, they take that one out, and there's
Yes.
a further one upstream, I'm not sure of how
I see.
far up, that they would take that one out also, and there'd be just one waterway.
Restore the waterway.
Yeah, restore the waterway.
As far as the court case is concerned, supposedly Makepeace owns one side of it, we own the other, or have the responsibility. And a couple of years ago, Makepeace said, no, you do what you want, do what you have to do. But in order for us as a legal entity to do that, we have to have legal rights to do so.
Sure.
So they're in court now, and that's what they're trying to do, is get that piece of paper that, from Makepeace, that says, yes, you can do whatever you want. And you two are very familiar with how the courts go, and how rapidly they take care of things.
So it's probably in land court, years.
Yeah.
If they rush.
If it's in land court, yeah, years.
And, yeah, we speculate it might, probably is
Probably
too,
is.
considering what it is, land.
You know,
So now what's gonna happen to Tremont, now that whole area down there? What do we know about that?
That's still,
They should
in the-
resolve a lot of the
That's a
problems. That
different
still
issue.
remains to
that's a
be seen.
different issue.
That's
That's
the-
a developer's issue, this is just the people
Yeah.
handling the
No,
waterway.
No, I understand the dam, I understand
Yeah.
that, but take the dam out, go ahead.
Yeah.
Now what, that land has been down there,
The redevelopment authority's working on some company
Yeah.
from Rhode Island.
With Bentley, it's called, I think it's.
Yeah, Bentley Company,
They're
yeah.
signing it,
Yeah.
they're in negotiations, I believe, to sign a contract.
but Bentley hasn't said what they're gonna do with it? I mean, this is,
It's gonna be multi-zoned, it's gonna be retail and some apartments or condos, I'm not really sure which.
Yeah, they had a plan, didn't they?
Yeah, they had a plan, yeah, I seen the
They
plan,
got
I
a couple
really,
versions of it,
Yeah, they,
and I don't think the contract is specific to which version they may use. So, but they are going to be the ones to do the, presentation, advertising, recruitment of, contractors, developers, et cetera, to do so.
Have they finished the remediation? Is it 21E, is all the remediation completed over there? I know
Yes.
there was, okay.
Yes, I believe we made the last payment, because CBC subsidized it.
That's good, okay.
just one more quick thing. I mean, last night, the presentation that they made, the young lady from the engineering company was a great presentation, she did a
Indeed.
wonderful job. She said she was gonna send the selectmen a copy of the slides, cause it was a PowerPoint, you know, maybe if you could get that for
Oh, I can get that.
people that, you know, wanna see it, you know, just either email it out, because I thought you did a fantastic job.
It was a very good presentation. Matt and I had, you might say here, practice presentation.
I went to
And,
the first one at,
there
at
was also a
Parker
lot
Mill.
of QA of the group
Yeah,
that were there at the time, and she incorporated a lot of the answers to those questions into her presentation.
yeah.
So it was much more informative.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of information that we
She
didn't
had a
have.
lot of information in really a short time. I thought she was about 20 minutes or so, I guess, whatever it was.
Yeah, well, Judy showed her, she only had 20 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, so in Tom's question, that's one side of the dam, and then Drummond Nails the other side of the dam.
Right.
I was surprised how big that thing is, the dam itself.
yeah.
yeah.
It's about 30 feet wide, 900 feet long, 19 feet high. And that's the backside of the building.
The state has, we do dam work for the Commonwealth of Mass. They have hundreds of private dams in this state that people don't even know. And they don't even know who owns it. So we do a lot of title work for them, just to determine who owns these dams.
You know, I thought it was interesting, she said last night, I'm still scratching my head, it's the closest dam to the ocean.
In the state?
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Right,
interesting.
it is,
Did you
yeah.
hear that, Bernie?
Yes, I did.
And I'm saying-
Tom, you mentioned one
And I'm trying to think,
collapse through.
gotta be something
Wow.
closer somewhere, so you're kidding.
I
Oh,
wonder if that'd
Did you
be
hear
an
that?
alternative to
Closest
close
dam.
to the water.
I said, wow.
Well, that one's right there at the
It's
title.
Taunton River.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty far from,
Well, that, the Parker Mill, that's brackish right there. It's salt water going in, it's fresh water coming out.
all this money and what we get is happy fish.
Well, and then they took the dam out at Horseshoe Falls or wherever it was.
Horseshoe
Yeah,
Mill,
Horseshoe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They took the
That was Buzzards Bay, right?
The coalition did that,
Yeah,
yeah.
the
No,
one
that's,
over
well, it's Buzzards Bay
Sadiqa
Coalition, but
School.
it's over by
Full of
Deacon's, yeah.
Deacon's. They did a nice job down
They,
there.
beautiful job. Beautiful job.
Yeah.
That's waterways would be opened up for kayaking or anything else, you know, different
Well, it's the same thing with,
wildlife recreation.
It's pretty exciting, actually, to imagine it, what it would look like. Yeah,
It's always nice if they get all the money out of the state.
yeah, I know. We have to pay for it.
Well, that was one of the, one of
Motion
the,
to adjourn.
I already have a volunteer, so yes, I'll accept that motion. Do I have a second, please?
second.
Motion's made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Thank you.